to get too personal development here, but my feeling is that too many people care about having their kids love them or like them or admire them. I like all that stuff, and I like that my kids love me, and I like that they consider me their friend, but that's really not important to me. To me, the toughest thing was, and my goal always was and still is, to raise magnificent human beings. And that means that sometimes you've got to be the bad guy. I believe, by the way, that's the same thing in sales management. I managed people for other companies for 14 years as a sales manager, national sales director, things like that, and I now do it on an outsourced basis. And many of the people that I worked with and still work with like me. But I don't really care if they do, because it's my job to help them feed their families. And I take that responsibility very seriously. So it kind of does go together.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I think your wife actually sold you. The master seller.
Well, she's my ex-wife now, so she definitely sold me something.
Okay, moving on. On that
All right, so on that note, what's something you think you might have difficulty selling?
Well, I worked for a recruiting company for a year, and I learned that I was really good at recruiting, and so I left and formed my own company for 4 years. And I really enjoyed that. I was making money hand over fist, sitting in my basement, and it was really exciting, because helping people get jobs and helping companies get great people is really a terrific thing. You're helping two people, two organizations or two entities at once,
right.
And getting paid for it well is a good thing. And I left there, and I was looking for my next opportunity, and I went to work for a timeshare organization. Ooh. I was horrendous at that. I was just awful. I loved what they were offering, but I wasn't really good at pressuring people. And this was you take people on a tour for an hour, and boom, $36,000 later. And my belief is that selling is not about talking people into things. Selling is not about convincing, and it's not about persuading, and it's certainly not about pressuring. Now, even more than when I tried that. So I was horrendous at that, because I didn't want to do that kind of thing. And after 2 months, I realized I was just in the wrong spot. And interestingly enough, leaving there created the opportunity for me to go to work for one of the largest sales training companies in the U.S., and that's where I learned how to do what I do now. So everything happens for a reason.
Sounds like soft sell is king.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, one door closes, the other one opens, and I would agree that you're preaching to the choir here. I mean, we're basically in the service industry in each of our disciplines, and I agree. I think it is relationship. I think it is a soft sell. It's not a pressure thing. It's a long-term thing. Yeah,
the truth is that, look, I've got 43 years of sales experience, and I'm so good at selling that I teach other people how to sell for a living. But I'm not good enough to talk anybody into anything that they don't want, don't need, or can't afford, nor would I want to. Right. My goal is to have conversations with enough people and enough organizations that some of them, at the end of the process, will choose to do business with me. That's the way I like to do it, and that's certainly the way I teach it. Now, that doesn't mean I don't do everything I can to help people to come to the right decision, but at the end of the day, especially right now with so much information easily available on the internet, what can I possibly do to talk you into something that you don't want, don't need, or can't afford, unless I'm willing to lie, cheat, or steal, which I'm not.
Excellent. Now, I know you're a great salesperson. Who would you consider a salesperson that either you look up to or someone that you know who's a good one, present company excluded, of course, because we don't want you to be biased.
Now I really have to think.
All right. Who would you admire? Who would you say or maybe you don't admire them necessarily. Maybe it's just a person who's very good at selling.
Yeah, there's certainly a guy I have in mind, and he's my mentor. I met him at the training company I just told you about. He was the lead sales trainer there, and he kind of took me under his wing. In fact, when I first went to work for the company, actually, before I went to work for the company, I said, I really need to know a little bit more about what you do because I don't understand it. And so they sent me out with this gentleman. His name is Steve Bookbinder, and he runs his own training company now. And they sent me out to watch him do a full day of training, and it only took about 40 minutes before my tongue was hanging out of my mouth, and I was going, oh, my God, I want to be this guy when I grow up. And by the way, I was already an adult. I want to be this guy. I want to do what this guy is doing because he's having a great time. The people who he's speaking with are having a great time because even though I've got a background in stand-up comedy, he actually was a real stand-up comedian for 6 years. So he's very funny, incredibly intelligent, and he has a way of communicating with people when he's selling that's simply a conversation, which is why my sales skills is called conversational selling skills. It's just about having a conversation. And it was an amazing eye-opener the first time that I went on a sales call with him, because I was used to pitch, just like I talked about before that you're not supposed to do. And watching him was like a revelation. And so I've modeled myself after Steve. And I still call Steve when I'm in a selling situation where I need a second opinion. I'm honored that he sometimes calls me for the same thing. He actually calls me more for a dose of attitude. He'll just call me up from, Jeff, I'm in London right now, but I need a dose of Jeff, so I'll give him a pick-me-up. But he's the guy. He's my go-to guy when I'm stumped.
That's awesome. All right, you are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nass Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and today our guest is Jeff Goldberg, President and Lead Sales Trainer at Jeff Goldberg Associates. Now, Jeff, a magician does not reveal his tricks. However, I was curious, conversational selling. So what are the elements, if you can tell us without, giving things away, what are the elements of a successful sales conversation?
Yeah, that's great. So I don't teach tricks, Ray. I really don't. I don't believe in tricks. Tricks implies that you're
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, and
right.
It really is all about just having a conversation. So, but there are certainly tips and tools and techniques that I share with people that tend to make them more successful. So the elements of a great conversation or a great sales process are certainly, the first step is always you've got to establish rapport with people. You can't, even though that's not what the prospect wants or what the salesperson wants, both sides just want to get down to business. Let me tell you what I got. If you want it, let's buy it and move on. Except that doesn't work because, Donyshia, you said it up front, people buy from people they like and trust. So I've got to get you to start to like me and start to trust me. And I have a certain technique that I do teach salespeople on how to do that. Once you've moved past that, you now have to go into the most important part of the sales process, which is the questioning phase. But in order to make it conversational, see, my whole goal is I want to ask you a bunch of questions that are going to tell me what I need to know in order to help you.
Right.
But if I just fire a bunch of questions, it becomes an interrogation and people shut down. You can read their body language. You can see it on their face. They don't want you to ask so many questions. So I teach salespeople to use something called softeners. And a softener is a word or a phrase that you'll put before a question to soften the question and make it more conversational. For example, a softener would be, by the way, incidentally, out of curiosity, I'm just curious. So I put a softener before almost every question. And the other thing that makes it conversational is your tone of voice.
Right.
You get a salesperson who's monotone, the people, they tune out. It's like dead air. It's like white noise. So you have to use your body language. You have to look people in the eye because people think you're not trustworthy unless you look them in the eye.
Right.
And you use the conversational tactic of using softeners and truly being interested in the answers to their questions. A lot of the time when I'm riding in the field with salespeople, observing them and coaching them, I find that they're just asking the questions to check off a box.
Right.
But you should only be asking questions that you really want to know the answers to. From there, once you've got all your information, you simply confirm that the information you think you got is correct. Then and only then can you give your presentation based on the knowledge that you've received if you've actually got what they want. By the way, if not, you should be man or woman enough to say, you know what? I'm not the right person for you, but let me introduce you to somebody else who is absolutely right for you. So I carry the phone numbers of two of my nearest competitors, both of who I know you know, Ray. And I've made recommendations on occasion to both of them when I don't think I'm the right person for the person that I'm with. After that, it's negotiating, closing, objections, rebuttals. It's all the same. But it's that conversational and easygoing nature of it that really relaxes people and turns you from a salesperson into a trusted advisor.
Now, is there one type of personality, and I know you probably met every single type of salesperson under the sun. Is it a command personality or a driven personality? What would you say would be makes the recipe for the top seller?
Well, I can tell you what I look for when I'm recruiting, and I do that for many of the firms I work with. There are skills that I can teach. Like I can teach anybody how to sell, but what I can't teach you to do is be competitive. I can't teach you to be friendly. I can teach you some techniques to make you sound friendlier, but if you don't really care about people and you're not friendly, I can't teach you that. I can't teach you how to want to win. I can't teach you how to want to make a lot of money. I can't teach you how to be articulate. I can't teach you how to be assertive. All those are characteristics that tend to make a salesperson more successful. It doesn't mean if you don't have them that you can't succeed in sales, but you're far more likely to if you do.
Gotcha.
One of the things we don't want, though, for sure, I don't want aggressive salespeople. Nobody likes aggression. Assertive, yes. Aggressive, no.
Is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think being genuine, and I think you hit on that. I think that's huge. That's something you can't teach.
Be yourself, yeah.
Now, I know me as a salesperson, I prefer the face-to-face. I prefer meeting with somebody because then you can read them, you can understand what it is that they need, what it is you can help them with. For a lot of us now, we're faced with social media and we're faced with technology. Is that something you view as something that can help us, something that can hinder us? What are your tips on social media and technology?
I think any salesperson today that's not using social media for prospecting purposes is out of their minds. There's this incredible thing called LinkedIn. And not only is it highly effective, it's also free. And of course, they have a paid version, but it's a highly effective tool for any salesperson to promote themselves, to make contact with others, and to develop prospects if they know how to use it well. And by the way, most salespeople are not using it well. In terms of technology, certainly any sales organization should be using some type of CRM, and there are a lot of them out there at a wide variety of price ranges.
So many out there.
So many. You don't have to have fancy. You just need effective, and it doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. I just started offering an amazing app called SalesStar, which is an app that you carry with you on your iPad, and it's almost as if I'm with you on the sales call, whispering in your ear and coaching you, telling you what to say. It helps salespeople close business. So I'm a big fan of technology.
Sign me up. So, Jeff, if you can give one salesperson 1 or 2 bits of advice, and for your last words today, what would you leave them with?
Well, I'd certainly tell them that they should be genuine. Don't try to be anything else. Don't try to be a certain way. Just be you, because people want to get to know the you. And I'm going to repeat something I said earlier. The come from should always be, how can I help you? And if you can't, let them know you can.
That's great.
Jeff, that's great advice. Thank you so much. We'd like to thank our guest today, Jeff Goldberg, President and Lead Sales Trainer at Jeff Goldberg Associates. Jeff, thanks for coming on the show today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you both for having me.
Thank you. I'd like to leave you with one final thought. From Chris Grosser, opportunities don't happen. You create them.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, your co-host, and our producers, Rudy Broody, the creative director of Tower Talk Business Radio. This is the Nassau Community College Foundation Business Leader Council production. Visit ncc.edu/WHPC for more information. Available as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been a Tower Talk Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. We'll talk with you next week.